Hey everyone, TimaeuSS here. Welcome to another NIKKE video. So this is the Helm plus Advanced Team Building Guide all in one. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to build a team around Helm by understanding how to build a team towards the end or mid game. Alright, so let's first take a look at the squad. So basics things first. Your squad consists of 5 units and it's very important to separate them in bursts, which means you have your burst 1, which is what you use once your burst bar is filled. It needs to then connect with the burst 2 into burst 3s. Alright, and it goes from left to right. So being the left burst 3, leftmost burst 3, Scarlet will always use her burst 3 followed by Heron, then Helm, depending on how you arrange things. Alright, and 2 key things that you must understand. First is you need to make sure that they cycle properly. So in my team, it's set up in a way that Litter is a 20-second burst 1, Uni is a 20-second burst 2, and it goes to the burst 3. And the cycles between Scarlet, which is I think 40 seconds or 30 seconds, and then Heron, okay? So when I burst, it will go Litter, Uni, Scarlet, back into Litter, Uni, Heron, or Heron. Then it probably never reach Helm. So if I want to use Helm in a certain stage, I need to swap the position between her and Heron. So it really depends. It really depends on how you want to build things. But the basics is you want your team to cycle through the burst when it happens. You don't want it to waste unnecessary time, valuable time doing the burst, okay? And to do this, we can actually take a look at the CN tier list. So this is the CN tier list. If you guys are interested, I can actually make a CN tier list breakdown to see why they rank things the way they are. But you can see at the very top, Lita is at the very pinnacle of burst 1. So they arrange it into burst levels. So they have their tier list based on burst, which I would say also makes sense in that regard because you want to essentially run a team comp and mix and match, right? So Litter's burst 1, 20 seconds, and burst 2 Dola is the best because she also reduces the burst timer. So you have burst basically faster. And she's a 20 seconds followed by everyone else. And then burst 3 we have Heron, Scarlet, because it's called Gurun in Japan, and the Yulha, okay? So in terms of team building, again, if we look back to our thing, we basically slot a very important burst 1, burst 2, and Scarlet, and to rotate. So if I were to build something completely from scratch centered around Helm, okay, let's go about this way. So let's say I have Helm. So what is Helm good at? Helm is good at providing support to your attackers. She's gonna buff your team, providing the attack damage buff, providing the crit buff, as well as she has a pretty decent single target attack. So now let's say you don't have Scarlet, you don't have Heron, you have someone like Privity. Okay, you have someone like Privity, which I don't have. So you slot your Privity in, pretend like this is Privity, okay? So you have a Privity, that means you have enough rotation between burst 1 and burst 2. So then you go to a burst 1. Do you have a 20-second burst 1 unit? And again, guys, if you're not sure about, how long the burst is, you want to go to the you want to go to Pridewind. It has all the burst information, so you can check. So let's say you're not sure about how long the burst the Litter's burst is. You can actually check right here. It's 20 seconds. All right, so you can always head on towards Pridewind to make sure you have that information. So you figure out who your burst is. Okay, so let's say you have Litter, because you reroll for Litter, and then you check your burst 2. You have a Polly. Polly is very good, very strong, but Polly's burst 2 is not 20 seconds. So you're gonna run into the issue of Litter is gonna burst 1, and then no one's gonna be able to burst after if Polly uses burst 2, because it'll be on cooldown way longer than Litter, right? So you have a little gap. So then you want to fill it up with something else. Let's say Dola. But if you have Dola, do you really need Polly? Because these two already satisfy the condition of very fast burst, right? So then this slot becomes very flexible, if that makes sense. So in terms of team building, it's very much centered around what DPS you have and what burst 1 and 2 connectors you have. Okay, that's the core component of team building. Another one I would think about in terms of team building is there are shotgun specific team comps that I can release in a separate video, but it's built around essentially reduction in Litter, Dola, volume, Isabel, and I forgot the last one, but Drake. but these cycle through so fast, and it's actually a super viable comp that does a huge ton of damage, but the investment is quite heavy. Okay, and another one that people really like on the CN server is if you go Litter and Dola, those are the essentially best slot 1 slot 2s, and then you go into Scarlet, let's say Helm. Another unit they bring as their support, because this already satisfy all the conditions you need for a smooth burst 1 2 3 cycle burst 1 2 3, right? You can bring Yuha. Yuha has a very good attack buff, and the CN players, they swear by them. Okay, it's this attack buff. It shares damage and also applies a huge attack buff that when buffed, it goes all the way to 90 something percent. Okay, so the CN unit, CN players swears by them. I personally am not like that big of a fan. I rather right now, after discovering what's going on, abuse the manual refill of Uni, and then abuse the charge attack of Heron. So I would actually put Heron first, so I can abuse the first charge attack, and Scarlet second, because I don't need the charge attack for Scarlet to come out, because Heron does more with full charge, and then Uni will refill Scarlet, and then the third one I can put Helm, right? I can put Helm that way. Or if I want to put Yuha, I can put Yuha for maximizing the Heron damage. But of course, here you still also want to make sure that you get the highest power as possible, because this game scales with power. Okay, so that is the more in-depth team composition guide. Hopefully this was clear enough. So what you guys want to do is make sure your slot 1 slot 2s are again mostly going to be support, so you want to choose good burst 3s and make sure that they're cycling. That's the key component, right? Make sure that they're cycling properly to get the most out of it. And yeah, I think if that's not clear, let me know. I can make another video on that to discuss about more with regards to in-depth team building, but I think it should be good for now. So anyhow, it's TimaeuSS here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye now.